So we'll be recording the lab and cardiovascular system. Let me turn on the... Yeah, that looks legit. Okay, so brief overview. So that's cardiovascular system. Okay. Here's heart. I'm gonna make it slightly bigger. Yeah, that looks good. So heart right here. Pulmonary circuit. Let me make it a bit smaller. Yeah, I think that's good. Pulmonary circuit, the part of the systemic circuit that delivers oxygen to the head, and part of the systemic circuit that delivers oxygen to the rest of the body. So in pulmonary circuit, blood gets oxygenated. In the systemic circuit, oxygen gets delivered to the body tissues. So this is the blood smear, as we would see it. Okay, so you can see the red blood cells, and the white blood cells here. White blood cells and platelets. So red blood cells are the most abundant in the blood smear, obviously N shape. Red blood cell, it's circular, but if you look at the side, it's shaped like this, so it is biconvex. So we're not going to talk about the pathologies. I mean, since it's kind of shorter, we can actually. So that's Monica, okay, and she has anemia, okay, low levels of iron. So that's iron deficient anemia. Treatment options would be iron supplements. And she's pale because blood doesn't contain enough red blood cells and doesn't deliver oxygen enough. Iron is essential because iron is essential for blood health because iron is necessary for proper composition of red blood cells. So here we have a lot of abnormal white blood cells, and the condition is leukemia. Complexion, white blood cells attack his tissues, and he's losing blood, and he's bruise and bleed easily because of the very his platelet counts are really low. So his platelet counts are really low, which means his blood cannot properly clot. And in Andrew here, we have a problem with a lot of sickle-shaped blood cells. So Andrew has sickle cell anemia. Okay. Treatment options: hydroxyurea mainly, bone marrow transplant, and another blood disorder that is caused by DNA mutation. It can be leukemia or it can be thalassemia. So let's talk about the heart. So that's anatomy of the heart, and we're going to label parts of the heart here. So let's start with the chambers. That's the right atrium here. Right atrium, the left atrium. This is right ventricle and the left ventricle. Now, valves. This is tricuspid valve. This is bicuspid valve or mitral valve. This is pulmonary, and here aortic. just remove some of them. Now, interventricular septum can be found here. That wall is interventricular septum. This is pulmonary trunk. This is aorta. And this superior vena cava. Inferior vena cava is not seen on the picture. So let's see labels. Okay, chamber of the heart that is labeled A. So this is A here, and this chamber is the left ventricle. B is right atrium. Okay. Superior and inferior vena cava, kind of a dead giveaway. Pulmonary trunk, C or D? Well, pulmonary trunk is C because it stems right here. C, it stems from the right ventricle. Heart valve, so A is the bicuspid valve. That's a dead giveaway. The valve between the right atrium and right ventricle. And B is the bicuspid or mitral valve. Here, left atrium separates left atrium and left ventricle. It's a cardiac cycle. We're not going to listen to the heart bit. We have to skip this stuff, unfortunately. Well, we can answer this question here. What effect does moderate exercise have on your heart rate? It increases it. And here's some blood vessels, but it's all, so we're going to talk about the blood flow through the systemic circuit. It starts the left ventricle, then goes to the aorta. From the aorta, it goes to the renal artery. From renal artery into the renal capillaries. From renal capillaries to the renal vein. From the renal vein into the inferior vena cava and into the right atrium. Now from the inferior vena cava, blood goes to the right atrium, then tricuspid valve, then right ventricle, then pulmonary valve, and then pulmonary trunk. And then through the pulmonary arteries to the lungs, through the pulmonary capillary beds and pulmonary veins. And from the pulmonary veins, it returns into the left atrium, then mitral valve, then left ventricle, then aortic valve, and into the aorta. So not all arteries carry oxygenated blood. The answer is simply no. The pulmonary arteries that go away from the heart actually carry deoxygenated blood. And about veins, same story. Not all veins carry deoxygenated blood. Pulmonary veins actually that come back to the heart carry oxygenated blood. And this is composition of the blood vessels. You can see that arteries are much thicker walls than veins. So in this image, this will be an artery, and this will be the vein. And blood pressure, we don't have a chance to measure blood pressure, unfortunately. So we will have to skip this. So that is stroke. Okay, obviously. And since it's blocked blood vessel, this is ischemic stroke. Treatment option: removal of the blood clot and therapy. And this is the blockage in the coronary artery, and that is myocardial infarction. Treatment option: removal of the blood clot, and stress probably have played a role. Stress increases blood pressure and increases the chance for the thrombus formation. So in Sarah has a septal defect, meaning that there is a hole in the cardiovascular, in the interventricular septum of her heart. So we have that picture of a heart. Bear with me. So septal defect means that somewhere here in the heart there's a hole between two ventricles, and the oxygenated blood from the left ventricle is actually being pushed into the right ventricle. So this poor girl was losing some of the oxygen from her systemic, some oxygenated blood from her systemic circuit. This is why she was bluish. That's called cyanosis. So she has septal defect, and the treatment for Sarah condition is surgery. So labeling: left ventricle, right atrium, aorta, tricuspid valve. So aorta, tricuspid valve, left ventricle, right atrium. So systolic, diastolic pressure. Systolic pressure is the pressure during cardiac contraction, diastolic during relaxation, in 125/75. Systolic is 125, diastolic is 75. Valves produce the heartbeat, and blockage of the coronary artery is the heart attack or myocardial infarction. Hypertension is high blood pressure. Hypertension is low blood pressure. Red blood cell, white blood cell, platelets. So function of the red blood cell is to carry oxygen. Function of the white blood cell is to protect against infections. And function of a platelet is to form a clot. Blood disorder is anemia. Cardiac auscultation is listening to the sounds of the heart using stethoscope. Artery, vein. Atherosclerosis is the occlusion of the blood vessel with the atherosclerotic plaque, and the risk factor: plaque can rupture and get stuck in one of the cerebral arteries or in the heart artery, leading to ischemia, and that's if it's in the brain, it's a stroke. If it's in the heart, it's a heart attack.